Welcome, everyone. I'm Alyssa Korsak, a marketing coordinator in Power's Geospatial and Asset Management Business Unit. Thank you for joining us in the third installment of our Power 360 AMS webinar series. Our last two webinars gave an overview of the platform, but today we're going to dive a bit deeper and focus on managing inspection programs, capturing asset condition, and analyzing business risk exposure using Power 360 AMS. We'll save time for live Q&A at the end, so as questions come to mind during the presentation, please add them to your Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Now let's meet the panel. First up, we have Steve Kerr. Steve leads our Asset Management Implementation Department. He is a software engineer and technical architect by training and currently leads a group of asset management consultants, analysts, and software developers at Power Engineers. Steve is certified by the Institute of Asset Management, and over the past 28 years, he has focused on delivering work and asset management solutions to utilities around the U.S. and abroad. Next is Kevin Miller, a strategic consultant at Power. Kevin started his career with First Energy, where he worked for 23 years in GIS, asset management, design, and capital projects. For the last 13 years, Kevin has provided expert guidance to customers, product development, and sales teams to develop solutions that apply technology and process improvement to achieve business value. He understands the utility business and the systems and processes that support it. Steve will now introduce you to Power Engineers.
Thank you, Alyssa. Before we start talking about the Power 360 AMS offering, let me introduce you to the company behind it. Power Engineers was founded in 1976 by two electrical engineers up in Pocatello, Idaho, and have since grown to over 2,500 employees spread across 50 strategically located offices throughout the U.S. and Canada. It's important to note that 80% of our staff are focused on energy projects. The company is divided into a number of different divisions, but the two of interest to us today are the Power Delivery Division and the Geospatial and Asset Management Division. Power Delivery contains experts in electric transmission, substation, and distribution. We're one of the top design firms in the transmission sector and are also highly acclaimed in substation design, substation automation, and distribution design. This division also has experts in DER, Distributed Energy Resources, ADMS, Advanced Distribution Management Systems, energy storage, power testing and energization, cybersecurity, and many other areas. Our Geospatial and Asset Management Division, which Alyssa, Kevin, and I represent, is a technology and consulting group that provides geospatial, asset management, and system implementation services for our energy customers. We are comprised of Institute of Asset Management certified consultants, project managers, business analysts, software developers, and data migration experts, averaging over 20 years of experience implementing business solutions for the energy sector. We are an ESRI Gold Partner, one of the first companies to achieve the utility network specialty, and the first to propel one of our customers to production usage of the utility network. So Power Engineers has a unique combination of utility experts who have spent their careers working for energy utilities and seasoned software solution providers with a track record of successful engineering, consulting, and system integration projects. Now let's have a look at Power 360 AMS. I'll give an overview of the technology. Power 360 AMS is built on mature, proven technologies, namely the ESRI GIS, which provides the asset repository and a host of applications for managing and analyzing the data. And it is built on CityWorks, the only GIS-centric public infrastructure management platform on the market. CityWorks is now a Trimble company. As you'll see during our demonstration, the platform serves up applications that can be accessed in the office as well as in the field on tablets and smartphones. By being built on the ArcGIS platform, you can leverage your investment in ESRI technology and utilize applications such as Insights and Operations Dashboards for analysis, Collector and Survey 123 for field applications, and of course, the ArcGIS Pro set of applications. The CityWorks application suite includes base products for managing service requests, work orders, inspections, permits, and projects, as well as add-ons such as storeroom for material management, operational insights for asset business risk exposure calculations, workload management, and mobile apps. Finally, the platform provides for efficient business workflows by providing robust integration mechanisms. For example, some of the systems integrated with include SCADA, ERP and financial systems, utility billing applications, outage management systems, engineering design applications, and citizen engagement platforms. Today, our demonstration is going to highlight the Office and tablet usage of the suite, the use of Operations Dashboard and Survey 123, and CityWorks Mobile and the CityWorks Operational Insights application. Now Kevin is going to describe the inspection processes and asset analysis functionality provided by the platform, as well as starting our demonstration.
Thanks, Steve. There are several good reasons for advancing your company's asset inspection program. Networks and the devices in them are always becoming more complex, and regulators are requiring inspection programs that advance reliability and power quality. Asset return on investment can also be enhanced with improved inspection programs. And new, better integrated systems support improved inspection programs. Many of the technical elements of the systems may already be in place in your utility. In today's webinar, we're going to be talking about two different inspection approaches: the calendar-based program and the predictive program, where the asset condition and use drive inspections. In the calendar-based program, all assets are inspected on the same time cycle by device type. In our demo, we'll look at a time-based pole inspection program. Then we'll look at a predictive-based inspection program for dynamic protective devices with elevated risk levels. In our example, the program breaks the risk level devices into 3 tiers. So what are DPDs? In our example, dynamic protective devices include field breakers, substation breakers, reclosers, sectionalizers, and circuit switchers. In the demonstration, we'll be talking about some variables that are necessary to calculate the business risk exposure for each individual device. Those variables are the COF, or consequence of failure, which quantifies the impact of the failure of the device. The COF typically looks at the network downstream from the device to determine the impact of failure. The POF, or probability of failure, quantifies the likelihood of failure. The POF is based on several factors, including the observed condition of the device, the age of the device, and the operational history of the device, along with other factors. This is an important calculation and requires domain knowledge to accurately determine. The BRE is the business risk exposure. This variable allows utilities to combine the impact and the likelihood of a device failing to objectively identify devices that should receive closer monitoring. Finally, the BRE level is used to group devices into tiers of business risk and slot them into appropriate inspection regimes. In our demo, DPDs that have an elevated BRE scores are inspected in a predictive process. The devices are broken down into 3 BRE levels and handled in different inspection programs. If a device changes BRE level based on an inspection or a remote sensing or a change in network configuration or other factors, it can be identified and given appropriate attention. So now we're going to look at the end result of the inspection program. And this is the ability to visualize the risk level of devices and the status of inspection programs. Today, we're going to look at the data in ESRI's Operations Dashboard. which is a flexible, configurable tool for looking at data stored in the GIS or in other systems. Our dashboard is live and will change to reflect changes in the underlying data in near real time. Our dashboards have been embedded into a series of tabs in the Power 360 AMS inbox, which allows them to be readily accessible to users who need the information. Now I'm going to switch over to live Power 360 AMS to show you the dashboards. Good. So this first dashboard gives us an overall picture of our system health. The dashboard's embedded in Power 360 AMS in an inbox. You can see the inboxes are tabbed, and we're on an asset health dashboard tab. The data in this dashboard comes from our GIS, where asset-specific information is maintained. The dashboard's not interactive, but allows us to quickly identify assets that have risk exposure. And we can see that with the red pie slices in these pie charts. It gives us a very good indication of the operational status of our assets. Now I'm going to switch tabs and we're going to look at another dashboard. This dashboard provides a visualization of our field pole inventory condition. Using graphs, lists, and counts, we are presented with a visualization that helps us understand the condition of our poles. A map in the dashboard shows us where the poles are at. So looking at the map, we can see that the poles are stylized by their inspection status. And if we look at the legend, we can see the stylization there. The map is easy to zoom and pan around in. Next, we have a listing of the poles and are ordered by the condition of the poles, with the worst poles at the top of the list. We can click on a pole in the list to pan to it in the map. We can select that pole then to see more information about it in the pop-up. Sorry about that, I accidentally panned to the wrong dashboard. If we zoom in the map, you can see more detail appears. So if I zoom out, you can see the overall view of the by condition. And then as we zoom in, we see more detail. The graphs at the bottom of the dashboard provide a means to analyze the pole data. And so we have a graph that shows the average condition score by install year, and another that shows the average condition score by height. And then we have a third graph that shows the BRE risk level by pole material. So you can see the different materials down here along the bottom of the graph. Finally, we have a line graph that's going to show us the inspection status. And this is basically how many poles per month we've been inspecting over the last 5 years. And then we have this donut graph that breaks down the poles by that BRE risk level. So now I'm going to switch over and show you another dashboard that's going to look at our poles by their inspection status. So the other dashboard let us analyze by condition. This is going to show us poles by inspection status. So we have some of the same elements with a map, a list, and a counter for the poles. If we look at the legend, we can see how the poles are stylized in the map. At the bottom of the dashboard, we can see gauges that give us information about how our pole inspection program is proceeding. And you can see here, we've inspected 391 poles this month. We've inspected 160 poles, which puts us above goal for the week. And then this year so far, we've inspected about 1,000 poles. The line graph then shows us our inspection burn rate, or sort of the rate that we're inspecting poles at by month. The bar graph in the center allows us to filter the data. So if I click off here and select all the bars, it's going to show me all the poles in the data, and my list will reflect all the poles. But if I select one bar, that's going to filter both my counter and my list. So now let's switch tabs again, and we'll take a look at the next dashboard. And these dashboards are DPD dashboards. And they reflect DPDs with an elevated BRE level that puts them in the category where we have them in special inspection programs. The map shows the DPDs stylized once again by their inspection status. And if we look at the legend, we can see how they're stylized. The gauges in the middle, once again, show us the inspection status in this inspection cycle by past due in the next 2 weeks, the next 4 weeks, and the next 60 days. The line graph at the bottom shows us inspections performed by month. So once again, this is a burn rate graph to show me how I'm tracking in my overall burn rate. The bar graph, once again, allows me to see how many poles need to be inspected by month, but it also acts as a filter for both the list and the counter. In the list, once again, if I click on a breaker or a device in the list, it's going to navigate the map to that breaker and show it to me on the map. That's the inspections dashboard for DPDs. Let's scroll down. We've got one more dashboard to look at. This dashboard is the condition dashboard for DPDs. And it, once again, has all of the same elements with map and list and counter. And then it also contains some graphs that try to get to, let me analyze how these DPDs are holding up based on some factors that can affect their condition. So this graph shows me the DPDs by their condition score and manufacturer year. And then this graph shows me average condition score by manufacturer. And the condition score comes right off of the inspections. Steve will show you how that's calculated in just a little bit. And then we also have a donut here that shows me the distribution of the DPDs by BRE level. So in conclusion, these dashboards are really just examples of the capability of the technology. It's important to understand that they're created with configuration and not with programming. So that makes them very flexible and relatively easy to change to meet your needs as your program changes and develops over time. And the makeup of the dashboards are always going to be determined by working with the customer to understand their business processes and their business needs and make sure the dashboards are providing them the information they need. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Steve, and he's going to show you some of the inspection capabilities of the system. Steve?
Great. Hey, thanks, Kevin. So I'm going to show you three things. Kevin has shown really the end result, what we're after, that analysis of inspection program progress, as well as the analysis of the condition and the business risk exposure for the various asset types that we looked at, poles and dynamic protective devices. What I'm going to show you is how we get there. So I'll show you how we calculated that business risk exposure using our operational insights application. Then I'll show you how the asset's physical condition is measured via mobile inspection applications. And then we'll look at how a supervisor can set up and monitor the inspection programs. So first up, we have operational insights. This is an application that allows the organization to set up risk factors, being two primary risk factors we'll look at are the ones that Kevin mentioned, the probability of failure and the consequence of failure. So the probability of failure for these dynamic protective devices, we measured it using 4 different criteria. One was an amp load, so that is the measure of the max load experienced on this device as a percentage of the maximum rated load for that device make and model. We also factor in the number of recloser counts that have taken place on that device, as well as the manufactured year. And then we also include the physical condition of the object or of the asset as calculated via our inspection module. For the consequence of failure, we look at 2 things. Basically, how many customers are being served through this device, and then do any critical customers get served through this device? Let's have a look at the dashboard now. So I'm going to load up some calculations that we did earlier this month on these dynamic protective devices. And we'll see, based off of those criteria before, the consequence of failure and the probability of failure of each asset, those are combined together to give us a business risk exposure for each asset. And we can have a look at the distribution of business risk for the various assets. And then using this, we can determine how many assets are at the high risk levels that need the most frequent investigation or inspection or preventive maintenance cycles. So that is the Operational Insights application. Next, I'm going to switch over to the mobile application. So here, what we're looking at is the CityWorks iOS mobile application. This is a lightweight application that can run in either connected or disconnected mode, and it provides a simple to use user interface for field workers to access their data, both in a map format, but also in a tabular format via an inbox. Here I'm looking at the inspections that are assigned to this logged in user, but we could also look at service request work orders or permitting cases as well. I'm going to switch back to the map view. So this allows the user to manage their work really based off of location. They can zoom around to the specific work activities. Here we have a couple of inspections. I'm going to select one of these inspections and open it up. Okay. Now I'll move on to the next one and open this one up as well. I'm going to pull up the observations, and let's assume for this one that everything's good except there's a little bit of corrosion on the device. So the contents of these inspections are really, we can start off with some templates, but then adapt them to meet your specific business needs. Okay. We'll say everything here is okay. A bit of moderate corrosion though, and it needs a little bit of repainting, but otherwise it's all okay. And I'll just put none in here and say we're done. So now we see that 19 of our 19 observations have been completed. Now let's go back. We'll have a look. I want to tag this with a resolution to say it needs a work order because of that corrosion and the repainting requirement, and then mark it as complete. Now going back to the map, we'll see that the inspection that I filled out is off our map, so it's basically off of our to-do list. You'll notice up in the upper right corner, the circle with the dot in it indicates, okay, now we have data that has been filled out and needs to be pushed back to the server. A couple other things I want to show you. Let's have a look at this inspection, and we'll see that we have this share button up in the upper right. This allows us to immediately do some application sharing. So we can immediately jump to server-based apps or web-based apps. We could jump to Collector for ArcGIS and update the attributes of this particular asset, or we could jump to Navigator for ArcGIS if we need directions to this work activity. Now I'm going to switch back to the Office set of applications. So here we're going to look at the primary Office app that allows in this case, a supervisor to set up and monitor the inspection programs for dynamic protective devices. As Kevin pointed out, in this application, we have there's a lot of functionality. We can manage service requests, work orders, inspections, we can manage projects, we can have a host of reports, we can have a storeroom application for material management, and a lot more. Here, I'm in our inbox. The inbox is tailored to the logged in user and shows the work activity that is important to them on a daily basis. Okay, so here we have access to the dashboards that Kevin was showing. And we have access to lists of assets. In this case, we have a list of all those that have been measured critical based off of their business risk exposure. So based off the risk exposure, I could select them all the high risk elements, and create a new work order on them. Let's say we need to go out to do preventive maintenance work order. And I can either create one work order that they're all a part of, or I can create separate work orders for each asset. Let's have a look at another tab here. This is my dynamic protection devices inspection dashboard. So I can have a look at those inspections that are past due. I can also have a look at those that are due in any arbitrary time limit in the future. And I can also have a look at those inspections that have been completed in the field and now have to be reviewed by a supervisor. So for example, I can go up here, have a look. These are the ones that have completed and pushed back to the field. And I see a few need a work order. One is okay and can immediately be closed, and others need supervisor review for one purpose or another. Let me have a look into one of these, and we'll see. So now the supervisor can go in and view the inspection results that were entered. One key thing here, based off those inspection results, a condition score is calculated. So over here in the lower left, we'll see the condition score for this specific asset. And now if I want to create a work order based off of these results, I can go and create any type of work order that's been defined for this particular asset. And those are the basics of the Office application. I do want to point out one of the other things that I wanted to show on the iPad is the interoperability with our Survey 123. So if your organization is already using Survey 123 in the field, well, we could create these same inspections. Here we're looking at a survey with pretty similar inspection observations, so that your field users could use Survey 123 to do their inspections, and we could have those pushed back to the server. So with that, I'm going to end our demo, but I hope this was of use to you. So Power 360 AMS, I just want to reiterate what we showed you. We showed you how you could create inspection and preventive maintenance work orders based off of the asset risk. We showed how you could deploy that work to the field to create inspections, work on those inspections and PM work orders. And it can be done in a variety of mobile applications. And then we showed you how to bring together the asset physical condition and other operational data to determine the asset risk, and then how we could create these dashboards to present throughout the organization so people can monitor the inspection program progress and the overall health assessment of the assets. So now we'll switch back over to our slideshow and we'll take questions.
So Steve, we have one question here. How flexible is this technology to conform to business practices in our utility? And so I can take that. I think that the technology is very flexible, since everything that you've seen here today is done with configuration. I think it's very straightforward to design a solution that exactly matches your business requirements and your processes. So there's another question here. It's, would there be any advantage to moving to this technology if you're planning to continue with a calendar-based program? And I think the answer to that is a definite yes. I think you've seen that the Power 360 platform provides a great capability to streamline and to efficiently manage your inspection program, no matter what the underlying business processes are. So I think that definitely would be value in moving to a GIS-centric asset management solution.
Okay. Hey, I'll take one last one because I know this one, a number of people have asked us already. Does the solution handle the new utility network? Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with the utility network, I'm sure most of you are, but Esri has introduced this. It's a high fidelity network model. So this gives you the capability to model your utility networks much more precisely, and you'll achieve greater performance on the platform under that network model. So I guess, so the answer to that question was yes. The underlying platforms do support utility network data. Of course, Esri supports it, and Trimble CityWorks team is a platinum Esri partner. They support it as well. Now, I guess one little asterisk to put on this is we know that the utility network is a new technology and it's changing, but as CityWorks being a platinum partner with Esri, they work very closely together to, if any issues are identified, they will be refined in the base platform. I guess with that, Alyssa, would you like to wrap us up?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Steve and Kevin. We're so glad you could join us today to learn more about Power's GIS-centric solution for energy asset management. As we showed today, when you apply this technology designed specifically for electric utilities and implement it with the Power team's energy and business process expertise, you can streamline your workflows to drive more efficient inspection programs and proactively manage your assets. We've covered a lot of information today, but there is so much more in the solution to show you. So I want to encourage each of you to request a Power 360 AMS demo as soon as we sign off. Christy Norman, whose contact information is shown on the screen, she handles business development for our Geospatial and Asset Management business unit. She can provide you with more information and connect you with a demonstration of Power 360 AMS. If you have more questions for our panelists, their contact information is also shown on the screen. We'll bring you more webinars throughout the year on how better data empowers better decisions. Be sure to keep an eye on your email inbox for our next Power 360 AMS webinar. Thanks so much again for joining us.